Rich, what's going on, man? Welcome to the Dad Edge, my friend.
Larry, glad to be a part of the Dad's Edge. Man, I was watching your YouTube videos and reading your bio on your website there, and I got chills, man. I'm like, yes, this is who I need to speak to. And I actually had a podcast earlier today with a moms group, which was doing almost the same thing, but talking to moms about empowering them to help them be the very best parents they can be. And now it's like a 1-2 punch here with the dad. So awesome sauce.
No pun intended with all your training and all your background, right?
Well, I've got a hashtag. It's called Right Hook of Reality, and
Yeah.
followed by a left uppercut of truth. And it's this kind of everything I've done. Well, been in the martial arts industry 40 something years, and it's kind of a message I've brought. And I was a PE teacher for 11 years, and then I've coached for, goodness gracious, I think my first coaching gig, I was like 14 years old, and the head coach of a hockey team, we're coaching little kids, quit because of parents. And here I'm like 14 years old, and I'm taking over a hockey team coaching 8, 9 year olds. So it's learned the ups and downs of connection and what to say, what not to say. And well, many times I probably say what I shouldn't say, but it's all from the heart of trying to empower dads and parents, kids to be their very, very best. But the most important thing is to believe in themselves and know that, well, with kids, we can't lie to them. We got to let them know the world ain't all freaking sunshine and rainbows, as Rocky says, right? It's a mean place and it'll beat you down. So let's empower them with the tools to get back up. Not a matter of if, but when they're bullied or when they're met with a challenge or when they're hit with a setback or adversity, how to have that fortitude, that perseverance, that inner strength, that drive to get back up and I like to say fight another round.
Yeah, man. And or sweep the leg. One of the two, right?
Sweep the leg, Johnny.
Get my body back, man. Yeah. Oh,
uh,
dude, it's like
good
going back.
stuff.
Yeah. So, being bully proof. And now I think some people know if they've been listening to the podcast for a long period of time that I was an overweight, youngster, and I was picked on and bullied a lot for my weight. And it wasn't until I was about 17 that I started losing weight and kind of finding fitness. But I remember, man, what it felt like to be bullied. And I know now, like when my boys come home, luckily, knock on wood, we really haven't had many issues, but we've had some here recently. And I think that there's a fire in you if number one, if your kid's being bullied, but also if you've been bullied, like you're the level of wanting to protect your kid just I think goes through the roof. And you want to do everything in your power to help. And I remember being bullied myself. And I remember also being raised by a single mom, and I didn't really have that guidance, and I wanted to take martial arts, and at the time we couldn't afford it growing up. And but there was a part of me that just wanted to know, like I think one of the most helpless feelings of being bullied was not knowing what to do. And or you go home and you're like, just tell them to stop, or just tell the teacher, or just do this or do that. And none of that stuff would work. And I think a lot of it didn't work, maybe because I didn't even know how to emotionally handle what was happening. I felt like, yeah, I think if you're being bullied, you feel like things are happening to you that are completely out of your control and you just don't know what to do. Is that accurate?
Larry, that's spot on. And I'll tell you, I had stopped training martial arts for a couple years because I was going to be a pro hockey player. We grew up poor on a farm too, but grandma helped out with payments and things of that nature to allow me to play and then take martial arts. But I remember as a kid, and then biggest reason I got back into martial arts when I realized I was going to be a pro hockey player was that feeling of, man, I don't know how to defend myself. I'm not sure I would know what to do or how to do it, and that feeling of vulnerability. Holy cow! I mean, biggest thing I talk about now, because especially in our martial arts academy or when I give presentations or even talking to moms and dads, they'll say, "Why are you teaching the kids how to fight, but yet you tell them that fighting's an absolute last resort? What the heck are they spending all this time learning all this for?" And my go-to is this: I would rather them be a warrior in the garden than a gardener in the war. I'd rather them know how to protect themselves, have the mental strength, the mental fortitude, the perseverance, the mental, physical, and spiritual strength. And spiritual, I'm a Christian, but when I talk about with spiritual, because I know not everybody, and that's fine. I'm not pushing any religion on anybody, but the spiritual is realizing that you've got a bigger purpose in the world than you may be able to see right now, especially us dads, right? And raising the future generations, but also doing what you can to make society a better place, what you're putting out into the universe to empower. And that spiritual is also the attitude and effort that you put forth. And I think that's one of the foundational pieces that build your self-worth, attitude and effort. If your attitude is terrible because you don't have any respect for yourself, you don't have any discipline, you don't feel good about yourself, your self-worth is down because you've been bullied, and then you take it a step further by bullying yourself in your mind, you keep reliving the past, then your attitude's not going to be where it needs to be. And you certainly aren't going to feel like putting forth the effort. So a big part of all that is that self-respect. And that self-respect comes from developing that bully-proof armor, that confidence, that belief in yourself. And it's not a false a facade. It's all about, I have conditioned myself to believe in myself by battling through challenges, learning how to overcome adversities, learning how to be who I was born to be. And then, of course, the follow-up question, well, how do I know who I'm supposed to be? Well, everybody's got a gift. I can't tell you, well, obviously I know what your gift is now from listening and seeing what you're doing. You're empowering dads to empower kids, to empower a future generation by the things that you've went through and experienced in your life, similar to what I'm doing and many other dads out there as well. But we each have a unique gift, but it's believing enough in yourself to bring that gift out. That's what I call developing warrior confidence, to become bully proof, to build your bully proof armor, to be who you're born to be.
I want to go back to that quote you said. You said, be a warrior in the garden, not a gardener in the war. Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah. And I think that are there some ways that we could teach our kids to maybe project body language that, hey, and I'm not talking about shoulders back, the chest up, I'm just freaking awesome, right? I'm not talking about that, but I'm talking about just ways that you can hold yourself through maybe proper posture or the words that we use, or maybe it's eye contact, or I'm not sure what exactly it is, but basically where you're sending a message of, I'm probably not the person you want to mess with, regardless of if you think I'm a target or not. Are there ways we can do that?
Absolutely. And
Okay.
Larry, what you said there is, um, I got my book called The ABCs to Become Bully Proof. And the C is communicate clearly and confidently. And the best way to communicate clearly and confidently is with eye focus, your eye contact, with the words you say, how you say them, and your posture. Now, if you think about it, a lion in the jungle goes after the weakest gazelle. Why?
Right.
It's an easy victim. It's an easy target. Well, bullies in our wild in the world, they're going to go after the weakest target. They're going to go after the one who walks around looking like a victim. And I tell I do women's self empowerment workshops, and that's the very first thing I talk to the women about is if you walk around looking, acting, and portraying the role of a victim, you're going to be a victim. You got to, and I'm not saying you got to walk around, hey, you might want to freak a piece of me, I'll kick your butt. Now that's going over the top with it. But I do a little challenge in front of audiences. I am doing all the time. I have them put their head down. So our listeners, if you're not driving your car, go ahead and do this. Put your head down and just kind of roll your shoulders forward and project that defeated posture. Now, by doing that, not only you feel defeated and look defeated, you're compromising your lungs. When you compromise your lungs, obviously we need oxygen. So you're limiting the air going to your brain and your extremities. So now you're almost powerless. Now roll the shoulders back and the head up where you're expanding your lungs. So now you're getting more air to your brain and to your extremities. You're going to feel stronger. You're going to move a lot smoother and quicker, but you're also not projecting the weak role. You're not projecting a victim mentality. You're walking around with a purpose. But as you mentioned, the biggest thing is eye contact. And you can't make eye contact if you're looking down at the ground. And you can't make eye contact if you're looking up in the sky. Eye contact is straight away. And I call it with little kids and even the women's self-empowerment workshops. And then I work with dads and adults as well. Call it tiger's eyes. You've got an intense look in your eyes. It's not like you're trying to burn holes through anybody or intimidate anybody with your eyes. You just have a look of confidence. And then when you talk, when you speak, you project confidence with your lion's voice. So I call it tiger's eyes and lion's voice and bold, courageous, confident posture. Now, does this happen overnight? Well, nothing happens overnight. You plant a seed in the garden, you're gonna have to water it. You're gonna have to make sure it gets sunlight. You got to till the weeds out of the garden bed in order to make sure that the garden grows. So it's something you got to work at. But the very first thing, and a lot of drills with affirmations, looking in the mirror and look in the mirror and say, I believe in me. I have tiger's eyes. I have lion's voice. I believe in who I am. I'm bully proof. And a lot of times people say, oh, that affirmation nonsense. I've tried that. It doesn't work. Well, if you've tried it one time, but you've had how many years of negative beliefs? You've had how many years of I'm a victim. I'm no good. I'm stupid. I'm dumb. I deserve to be bullied. You got all those limiting beliefs and negative thoughts in your mind. Well, doing affirmations one time, they're not going to work simply
Right.
because you got so many weeds suffocating those seeds. But if you start doing it over and over and over again, it's going to start having a profound impact, because what you plant is what grows. If you want strawberry, you got to plant strawberry seeds. You plant onion seeds, you're going to get onions. Same thing. You plant limiting beliefs and self-doubt and I'm worthless. Well, that's what you're going to get, because that's what you're going to believe. And along with that, a lot of times people say, well, affirmations are nothing but lying to yourself. And so it's not lying, it's future planning. You planted the seeds now for those trees to grow later. And that trees to grow later is, I want to be the best dad I can be so my kids can grow up. Because oftentimes what happens, if dads, moms, we're bullied as kids and we don't do something about it to stop that bully within, we pass that on to our kids. And then we didn't know how to stop it. Now our kids don't know how to stop it. It's like, holy cow. So we've got to, well, those are the simple steps as far as walking around, not looking like a victim, but looking like the hero we were born to be.
That is really cool. What and so now you got me curious of what the B and the C is all about. We're
The,
working backwards, but that's okay.
That's okay. And the beautiful thing about them, and we're kind of putting together there, they took on so many different paths and avenues, and I want to keep it kind of easy. But I like to say the A, B, and C build on each other by going backwards, C, B, A, and there is a D. The D is defend yourself if physically attacked. You do everything you can to avoid it, but if someone physically puts their hands on you, it is no longer bullying. By definition, they have now committed assault and battery against your body, which is a crime. And if someone commits a crime against your body, you do have the right to physically protect yourself with enough force to stop the attack. I say that, and now I've got to actually say this, because in most states, so there are states out there, check your state laws, but if someone commits a crime against your body, you have the right to physically protect yourself with enough force to stop it. That doesn't mean you can beat the person down. It does mean you can physically stop it. And the technique I teach all beginners, and when I do empowerment workshops, is a palm strike. Now, palm strike, think about if you're, those are listening, if your fingers are all apart here, I call that, it's weakness. Every individual's doing its own thing. You bring them together and you just kind of squish your palm heel. Makes it nice and solid. At some point in time, we've all banged on a desk before, hammered this, so we know how solid it is. And that palm heel fits right into your solar plexus, and your solar plexus are right where the rib cage comes down and right where the stomach kind of begins. And that's the technique I teach. It's an open hand technique, so your hands are open. Everybody watching says you're trying to diffuse the situation, and the reason for that, if you make fist, say, Larry, you got a beef with me, and you square off, and then I square off. It doesn't matter who started it. We're both willing combatants. Doesn't matter what I know or what you know. Everybody watching says, oh, they're going at it. Closed fist. Closed fist. Unfortunately, most people don't know how to throw a proper punch. I see that from 30 years of people coming into the academy, and even dads throwing weak wristed punches and this and that. So, but it's a closed fist. So now it's an imminent threat. When my hands are open, it's like, hey, man, I'm trying to defuse the situation. Another thing, kind of going down a different path here. When your hands are closed, now you're a lot slower. When your hands are open, you can move a lot faster and a lot smoother. Think about playing sports. If you tense up before you try and swing the bat, you're going to be a heck of a lot slower. You got to stay relaxed. And then on the moment of impact, you tighten up, then you loosen up to fulfill the swing there. But the palm strike fits right in the solar plexus there. And it's something I actually teach police officers and law enforcement. And I've had an opportunity to work with some personnel in the military as well. Now, military is a little bit different because a lot of those are life and death combative situations, but it still works. And especially with law enforcement, if a person's all jacked up on who knows what, man, you could hit them with a billy club as many times. You could even mace them. You could tase them. You could even, if you broke a joint or a bone, they're going to keep coming at you because they don't feel pain. However, you take the air out of their lungs by hitting them in the solar plexus, and we've all had the air knocked out of us before. You can't breathe. You can't breathe. You can't move. but I call it the most effective non-lethal technique, simply because after a short time, the breath comes back. But what you remember is, holy cow, I had the wind knocked out of me. I was basically incapacitated. I couldn't do anything. So it's the most effective non-lethal technique you can do. Kind of went on a different path there,
No,
but
it's good. So
but
that's the D, right?
that's the D. Yep.
Okay, yeah.
Uh, but the B, and we'll just continue going backwards here. The C is communicate clearly and confidently with your eye focus, your lion's voice, and your posture. The B is believe in yourself by strengthening your bully-proof armor. And how you strengthen your bully-proof armor is through those positive affirmations, through believing in yourself, through, and I do example with like $100 bill, and I'll crinkle it all up, and I'll throw it down, I'll step on it, I'll spit on it, I'll even tear it, and I'll say, "What's the worth of this $100 bill?" I said, "Well, it's still $100." I said, "Yeah, but it's all crinkled. It's all, I spit on the thing. I tore it up. I've stepped on it." Well, the value doesn't change. So no matter what someone said to us or done to us, our value doesn't change. And we have to remember that, because oftentimes we start feeling worthless. And once we start feeling worthless, then that belief in ourselves disappears. So we have to strengthen that B, believe in ourselves, by strengthening our bully-proof armor. And I like to say that none of us would ever go outside without any clothes on. Well, I don't like people ever to go outside or on social media without their bulletproof armor on, because there's people out there wanting to cast negative arrows at us and bully us in some way, shape, or form. And they always attack our two most vulnerable areas, which are our heart and our mind. We're trying to be kind, we try and be nice, we try and do the right thing. We're laying our heart out there. What's the right thing to do? But there are people out there, if we appear vulnerable, they're going to try and take advantage of us. And then our mind is our limited beliefs, or someone said in the past or did to us in the past. We start thinking, you know what, maybe in third grade that kid was right, or maybe I deserve to be bullied. Oh, maybe I deserve this and that. I am worthless. Now, we can't let those weeds start growing in our mental garden, because then they'll take over.
Mm.
So that's the B. And then the A, kind of the starting point of all of it. And it's how I start every, like, the women's self protection workshop, or a training with a law enforcement, is awareness. A stands for awareness and avoidance. Awareness of what's going on around you, awareness of what you're saying, awareness of what's being said, aware of what your kids are doing and who they're hanging around with, aware of who you're hanging around with, and aware of dangerous situations. And then the second part is avoidance. But I always say this, I'm not telling you to run away from your fears, because your fears will creep up on you. But I am telling you to be smart enough to avoid dangerous situations. I've been in martial arts 40 plus years. I've had the opportunity to train in Korea 4 different times. Primary style was Tung Sudo, which my head instructor was actually Chuck Norris's head instructor. So that's kind of cool. But so my primary focus was on self-protection, self-empowerment, and then how to physically combative defensive techniques. So and I'm not a very big person. I'm 5'7". If I spike my hair up, I can get 5'8". But so that was a big part of how to protect myself, and how to be a smaller person, feel comfortable and confident, defend myself against somebody much, much bigger than I am. But with all that being said, there's no need for me to go into a dangerous neighborhood and prance around like I'm going to kick everybody's butt. That's ridiculous. That's insane. So that's the avoidance I'm talking about. And for kids, if you've got a kid that sits at table 2 in the lunchroom, and every day he's bullying you, then man, just avoid him. Sit at a different table. Or if a kid on the school bus, if he's bullying you, try and avoid him. You're not running from your problems. The bully's going to find somebody to bully. My thing is, don't let it be you. Empower yourself to believe enough in yourself to strengthen your bullyproof armor. And once you've done that, become a hero in your own life. Now you can help out others. But we can't help anybody if we're not empowered ourselves. It's one of those, talk about, if your cup is empty, you can't fill up somebody else's cup. If you don't have the knowledge or the belief, you can't help anyone else. So it all starts, and that's kind of the bullyproof armor. It's from the inside out. And a big thing, there's been signs everywhere about stop bullying and bully prevention, and that's all admirable. But bullying's been around since Cain and Abel, and Cain and Abel didn't have social media. So we've got that. So my whole thing is all about, let's build that bullyproof armor to learn how to protect ourselves. And now, once we've done that, now we can share how we did it to empower others.
Man, I love that. As far as let me ask you this. Let's make this a situation.
Sure.
Let's say your kid comes home from school and they're like, "Hey, so and so is saying these mean things to me. They're pushing me down on the ground. they're no matter what I do, I can't get away from them. Something like that. What in my mind, I have a background in martial arts too, not nearly as robust as yours. I did it for just a little over 10 years. But I always tell my kids, I'm like, your first step is to tell them to stop, right? And let me step back for a second. It's really interesting that you talk about the A, B, and C's because it's very similar to what I've talked about with my kids. Don't especially like the C, right? It's like if you look like you're projecting a lot of weakness and vulnerability, well, they're going to pick up on that. So our balance is not to walk around like an idiot, right? But our balance is also to project like I'm confident and I am not necessarily the person you want to mess with, right?
Yep.
Um, so I think that's important. But I also think when times do happen, because I think sometimes kids are ashamed and they don't necessarily want to share what's going on until it's like the 11th hour. And then suddenly they were like, hey, I need to tell my dad about this now. It's gotten out of hand. And what are the steps do you think dads can take to help their kids prevent, bullying to continue?
Sure, and I'll definitely share that with a story because my dad was, and I talk about it in my book. So listeners, if you have an opportunity, it's me as a 12-year-old meeting me 40 years later, and we go on a journey together where the older me is teaching the younger me everything I wish I would have known about believing in myself, standing up for myself, and the older me is teaching me the ABCs and the steps and their stories, and it's all real life examples either happen to me personally or my own kids or kids at the martial arts academy. And I tell a story in there about when I was being bullied as a kid, 9, maybe 10 years old. And my dad's he's part of the 101st Airborne in Vietnam. And so it was a bit of a rough childhood. My dad did the very best he could, and so did my mom. And I love them for who they are. We grew up dirt poor on a farm, and my grandma helped out with a lot of things. But I had chores at a young age, milking our milk cow, shoveling horse poo, baling hay. And one of the ways kids would bully me was I would go to school and I'd say, "What's that smell?" "Oh, it's Richie. He smells like cow poop." And now I took a shower every day, but it was just a way kids would try and plug it. And then they'd all say, "He's so poor he can't even afford milk." We had a milk cow. Well, anyway, kids are, and here's the thing about it: if you don't do something to stop the bullying, most of the time bullying starts off with name calling, laughing, exclusion, and then it grows from there. Because the bully wants to continue to get that power trip or that power high. And if they're no longer getting it from the name calling, then they start stepping it up a notch. Then they start the shoving, the pushing, the kicking. And if nothing's done to stop it, then it just continues to escalate. Well, anyway, I was about 9 years old, and this kid just continued on. Start out with a name and this and that. Before you know it, he's smacking me. Then he's punching me. Now he's kicking me in the groin, and then he's kicking me when I'm down. And one particular day, I came in, I'm crying, and I never said anything because, that old song, that Johnny Cash song, "A Boy Named Sue." I always say that could have been a boy named Richie growing up. And Dad was like, "Look, the world's tough. You're gonna either toughen up, or the world's gonna have you." Well, I come in crying, and Dad's, "Oh, you freaking sissy. You just need to punch this kid in the face and he'll finally leave you alone." I don't want to punch a kid in the face, but I didn't know what else to do. Well, a couple days later, kid's at it again. He kicks me in the groin. I fall down. I'm crying, and he gets right in my face and starts calling me all kinds of names. Well, I grab this kid and get him down and just punch the daylights out of him, and to the point where all I know is there's blood everywhere. My mom freaks out. She comes running. She pulls me off. I've never seen my mom so scared or angry. All I cared about was I defeated the bully. My dad's going to be so proud of me. He gets home. He's not proud. He's not happy. He is mad as heck. And then he goes, "You're going to pay that kid's medical bills. You broke his nose, and they're probably going to sue us." And I'm like, "Dad, I did what you told me to do." He goes, "I told you to hit the kid, not put him in a hospital." So with that being said, all that pain and frustration I let compound, and then I let it out. So Dad's listening. You can't just tell the kid, as much as you want to, just punch him in the face, because the kids don't know where that line is. And I had what I call a Ralphie Christmas moment in the Christmas Story, where I had this kid down and I just couldn't stop. Now, what that did for years after that was that scared me to death to ever defend myself, because I had packed it all in, it exploded out. All I knew is I didn't know what the heck to do. I was scared to death to do anything. So to answer kind of the question about what dads can do, talk to your kids. Communicate clearly and confidently is not only about projecting strength against the bully, but it's for us dads to make sure we're constantly communicating clearly and confidently with our kids. Ask them questions instead of, hey, how was school today? That was fine. Okay, good. And back to what we're doing. And we dig in. Hey, is anybody kind of picking at you? And and that's what you kind of the conversation. And to say, don't be scared of it. I'm your dad. I love you. I've been through it too. I want you to talk to me and keep that communication chain open. Therefore, if something does happen, they feel comfortable telling you about it. And the old story is, if they can't talk to you about little problems when they're little kids, they're sure as heck not going to talk to you about big problems. They become teenagers and adults. So we want to develop that right off the bat. And they're going to be pressured with, drugs and alcohol and everything else that we were pressured with. So you want to have that communication open at an early age. But tell them if someone's being rude to you, mean to you, talk to me about it. And then maybe share a story. My dad never shared stories with me. And that's why I'm saying it, of when it happened to you. Therefore, they don't feel like they're the only one. They see dads, we're the big hero. We got a big Superman cape on. There's nobody going to hurt us dads. There's no way anybody bullied us. So oftentimes our kids think they're the only ones, just like we thought we were the only ones at the time going through that. So keep that communication open and talk to them about it. But the steps, the sooner you can be aware of it and then believe in yourself and have that bully proof armor, the more you're going to deflect it right off the bat before it gets to the physical stage. But I promise you this, if nothing's done to stop it, it's going to get to the physical stage. And then another part of that, communicate clearly, your tiger's eyes and your lion's voice. You confidently tell the bully, stop it. And I mean it. I've had enough. Do that loud enough and confidently enough. And it's something I encourage parents to practice with their kids, kind of role play these things. The parent assume the role as the bully, and the kid continuously work at showing that confidence, believing in themselves. It's going to deter most bullying. But if it gets to the point where they're physically putting their hands on the kids, that's where I teach. The hands are open. We got what I call an X block technique. All that X is, it's like two layers of defense that bully has to go through and just deflect it off. And you can have your kids, you can kind of reach at them, just have them do the X and turn to the side. It's a mere deflection. It's like a parry, almost like a double parry technique. Parry's just one hand. You got it here. And then that palm strike to the solar plexus if they need to. But like I said, if you can stop that bullying before it ever gets to the physical part, the bully's going to find someone else. They have a craving for that. And it's not that the bully is a bad person. It's a bad behavior that they probably learned from either being bullied themselves or from their parents.
Talk to me more about keeping this line of communication open with your kids. I think a lot of us, I've heard this story a lot actually, working with men for the past 10 years. And it's something that, I mean, man, now that I think about it, there really wasn't a dad in my life. Uh, but there were here and there, depending on who my mom was married to or dating at the time. Like some would stick around for a minute, some would stick around for a couple years. But I guess especially one when I was like 15, my mom was dating this guy who was like kind of a specimen. He was built well, used to be a bodybuilder, and I was that was probably one of the worst years I was being bullied. And I sure there was a big part of me that felt a ton of shame to come home and tell him that I was being bullied because I looked up to him as like, wow, this guy's like fit, he's this, he's that. Like I'm gonna look like a tool, like, coming to him and telling him this is what's going on. Or he's not even gonna be compassionate. He's just gonna tell me to, pony up, grow some
Yep.
balls and do something about it. And that was like that was always a real fear for me. When it comes to talking to my own kids about being bullied, you know, I I wouldn't call myself like the most fit dude in the world, but like I'm 48 years old and 170 pounds, and I am, I'm about 9% body fat, and I work out every freaking day. And so I pride myself on being physically fit, but also insanely compassionate and very empathetic to my kids' needs. So I don't hesitate to tell my kids, like, hey, like when I have these conversations with them, I'm like, hey, I used I was like a freaking target, man. Like not only a target, but like a bullseye target. Like kids would mess with me relentlessly, right? So, you can always come and talk to me about, if something's going on at school. Never be ashamed, right? So my kids know that. But because I was bullied and because I felt that way, I knew that was the message I had to send to my kids in order for them to feel comfortable to come and talk to me. But if I had not been bullied or grown up like that, it would, quite honestly, a conversation like that, like them being bullied, would be on my radar. But a conversation to welcome their conversation towards me probably wouldn't have been on my radar. Is that what you've seen working with parents as well?
Yeah, so the person who would sign the kids up the most for our martial arts classes were the moms. One, a lot of dads did not want to ever admit their kid was being bullied because dads, with our ego, would think, well, I've done something wrong as a father if I can't teach my kid how to protect himself.
Right.
So I'm talking to dads here, and and I get it. I totally get that. But dads, we've got to know that, man, certain things we know and certain things we don't know. We've got to be vulnerable, especially if we want to learn what we may not know in order to help our kids be their very, very best. And I'm guessing that most dads that listen to this podcast have kind of kicked the ego to the curb and are willing to say, hey, man, there's something I can learn here. But that takes a lot, because what is ego? And I had a huge ego for the longest time. My ego was to cover up for my own insecurities. Ego is, I like to say, it's an acronym for edging God out or edging greatness out, because we are too, well, we're lacking confidence. So we put on this false facade that I got it all together. I got it all figured out, because we want to be superheroes to our kids. But by you, Larry, doing what you're doing, you're vulnerable with your kids. You're
Yeah.
letting them know, because they look at you, though, being I mean, I saw your videos, man. You look jacked. It looks great, buddy. Keep up the good work and working out every day. They see that, and by if you wouldn't be vulnerable with them and let them know that you were a target and you were bullied, there's no way. Because I couldn't go to like I said, that was 101st Airborne in Vietnam. He he 68, 69. So we're talking Hamburger Hill and all that chaotic mess. He was a disaster, and then he became an over the road truck driver. Changed his name to Butch, for crying out loud. Now I love my dad. I need to do a better job of communicating. He's kind of locked himself in, but that's through the trauma he went through. And now I realize, and this is for younger dads or all dads, man, look, what your parents probably did, your dad probably did the best he could do with the knowledge he had at the time. I say that now because for the longest time, I thought my dad, we didn't have much of a relationship, and I thought it was his fault. I didn't realize everything he went through. And now I have the utmost, greatest respect for him, knowing he did the very best he can do. Now I want to do a better job of being, I think any good dad wants to, and I hope my kids, when they become dads, they want to do a better job than I did with them. But you got to be vulnerable and share with them. So dads, a story I was sharing with Larry before we got on the air was my oldest son, who's 22 now. He, for the longest time, I'm trying to grow the business and build the martial arts in the community. And I became a PE teacher. So I was doing that during the day, working on the business at night. Well, I rarely saw my kids. And when I did, it was, I would get on to them because they left socks in the floor, or they'd want to play. And I'd say, in a minute, buddy, I got to do this work. Well, in a minute, buddy, become my mantra. And I never spent time with my kids. Now I regret that, because there's nothing I can do to go get that time back. So it's a balance, such as anything in life. But Larry, definitely not that you need me to compliment you, but just hearing you, I'm 52. So I know you said you're 48 there, working with your kiddos there, being vulnerable, being transparent. I mean, that's all I ever wanted from my dad or my role models or my heroes, to let me know, yeah, they're still a hero, but yet they can help me. And kind of the book I talk about with, um, I mentioned Star Wars in there just at the very beginning. I like Star Wars. I'm not a big Star Wars buff, but I think something that is a valid point that's often well, I guess I should speak for myself. I didn't realize it at the time, but I always thought that Obi-Wan Kenobi was Luke Skywalker's hero. Well, the truth is, Obi-Wan Kenobi was nothing but a guide for Luke to discover his own hero inside himself.
Yeah.
And because he already became his own hero because he figured it out. So now he's guiding Luke to figure it out. It's almost like you can talk, you can show, you can try and teach, you can try and educate, but until the kid decides to do it on their own, like riding a bike, you can show them how, you can hold the things up, you can put the training wheels on, you can do everything you can, but sooner or later they're going to have to figure out the balance in order to ride the bike. Well, the same thing. Obi-Wan Kenobi, back to the Star Wars, he was nothing but a guide. Same as us fathers now. We want to guide our kids, not to stroke our own ego that we're the greatest hero. And here's a crazy part. This book took me 8 years to write. I had two different writing coaches and three different editors, and many times I just want to give up on the thing. I don't know how many times I get it back and throw it in the trash can or the paper trash and say, I'm done. This thing's terrible. But you got the whole purpose of getting it out. Well, one of the last changes of the book, and I was done with it. I didn't want to read it again, but committed myself to doing it, was the way the story ended was me, which is Uncle Joe, the older one in the book was Uncle Joe, and the younger me was Logan. Now, those are two names I had no affiliation with, so I just chose those names at random. But Uncle Joe was the hero of the story at the very end. He ends up getting these two guys in a wrist lock, which is a confrontation I had years ago, and saves the town. Uncle Joe did this. Uncle Joe did that, but it just wasn't right. And I read, I don't know where I read it from. It was, oh my goodness, Donald Miller, Story Brand, the great book. And he said the Luke Skywalker example, how all you are to your, if you're a coach, is a mentor, a guide to guide them to become their own hero. And it snapped in my head. I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to rewrite this thing. It wasn't a whole lot of change, but there were several things of all I am. I phase myself out, the older me, where the younger me becomes the hero of his own battle, of his own journey. Just like similar, Luke Skywalker becomes the hero. Yes, Obi's guiding him, but he becomes the hero of his own life. So I kind of went on a different detour there, but I wanted to kind of share that story with the dads of, man, be vulnerable, communicate with your kids, share with them times you were bullied or times when you failed. Our business, I would bankrupt twice. We had a house foreclosed on, cars repossessed. So I didn't know what the heck I was doing as a businessman. Now, that was something I never used to share in the past because I was embarrassed. Now I realized that was just ego. If I can share that with somebody and they can learn from my mistakes, that's being a guide. That's helping them become a hero so they don't do the same struggles or go down the same path. And dads, when you got to have the talk with your boys, do a better job than what your dad probably did for you. That's another way of communicating clearly, and it's another way of helping them, because every mistake we make in our life, we file it in a filing cabinet in our brain, and at the most inopportune time, our brain goes to that to remind us what a loser we are, how we screwed up again. Well, I want you to have that bulletproof armor where that brain, when it goes to that filing cabinet, you shut it off right then and there.
I love that. I'm very familiar with Donald Miller's brand, the story brand, and being the guide for the hero's journey. It's actually something that I followed when we started creating the messaging for the Dad Edge and even our mastermind. Right? It's not about the Dad Edge, and it's not about me. It's about these guys that come and do life with us. Like, what does your story look like? Your hero journey look like? The interesting thing about that is, though, until you just said that, I never really thought about that with our kids. I mean, in that context, I've been doing this work long enough now to where, like, I know that I am not gonna just like, it's not about my kids emulating me, like all the good things, and then making sure that they don't repeat any of the bad. It's literally all about them, right? And their story. When it comes to, I really want to talk more about this and the bully thing. I think we've put some context or some, I would say, a lens around dads who probably have sons, right? And maybe there's physical altercations and that kind of thing. Not to say there isn't that for daughters, but let's talk to the guys who are raising daughters and some of the things that might be maybe more emotional bullying, maybe not physical, but the emotional bullying, the words, maybe they, you know, treat, maybe a guy's listening to this podcast and his daughter's being treated like an outcast, right? Because she's not a part of like this girl's clique or whatever. But how can we help the dads with daughters out there?
Yeah, I've got a 19-year-old daughter as well, and Madeline is her name. And I raised her from. I mean, we're talking and Austin, my 22-year-old, is the same thing. He was 6 years old, and I threw him out in front of an adult martial arts class and said, "Hey, I want you to teach him something." He's like, "What?" So he did one jumping jack and then ran off the mat. Well, it was a start. So baby steps from there. And the whole idea behind that is helping condition or strengthen that bully-proof arm at a young age, where he's feeling comfortable being in front of people and, not necessarily barking out commands, but just talking in front of people, making eye contact. Well, I did the same thing with Madeline. And my whole goal with her was to raise her where no man or woman or anybody is going to disrespect her. And she's a beautiful girl, and she was part of martial arts. She also became a dancer. And in middle school, I found out, and shame on me for not doing a better job of telling you the things that's I've learned from my past, of knowing that she was being bullied to the point because she had strong legs, because she's dancing in martial arts. So the girls were making fun of her. And so she decided to stop eating. And then she got depressed. And then the next thing I know, she's crying and got ulcers, not going to school. Now, this message here, I should have done a better job of being aware of this. It wasn't until my wife told me. And of course, like any dad, I was like, well, gosh dang it. She's been sparring with and defending herself against adults since she first started martial arts. And all this. And my wife says, what do you always tell them? Unless they've been physically assaulted, not to physically protect themselves. And that was that moment is when the ABCs came together, because I thought, oh my gosh, I'm teaching all these kids, including my own daughter, how to kick butt. I mean, they could literally defend themselves against any adult, any size. We had a couple of guys in our academy. This dad and son were 6'10" and 6'11". Holy cow. I mean, like I said, I'm 5'7". So, but it's like, well, this is going to really see if this joint locks, wrist locks, and takedowns and all this stuff works. Happy to say it did, but they were sparring, defend themselves against adults, but yet, oh my gosh, they're not being physically attacked. I've not given them the tools to protect themselves against the other part of bullying, which is for most girls, it's the name calling, it's the exclusion, it's the catty stuff they do, and somebody's got strong legs or blonde hair and pretty, these girls are going to pick away at them. That's where the ABCs came in and kind of started there, because it mostly rains in that area, especially with little girls. But so I taught Madeline how to fight, when to fight, how to defend herself, but not how to protect herself against the name calling, the exclusions, and this and that. Now, I had thought with everything she had done that she was plenty confident. I mean, she's leading classes, she's taking care of this. So her outside persona at the studio, when she had her gi on, her superhero suit, she's impervious to pain. But when she goes to school with her regular clothes on, that was a different story. Why? Because what I got to her was, you're the same person, regardless if you got your gi on or not. But then making her and helping her believe that was the challenge there. So I was kind of working from behind the 8 ball out, because they hadn't physically assaulted her yet, nor did I want her punching somebody in the face to defend herself. So we had to kind of go back, and I'm telling dads this, to start early with that communication. Talk to them, ask them if anybody's, and share openly. Hey, I was bullied because I was short and I grew up on a farm. Is anybody saying those mean things to you? And the more they start talking, especially at a younger age, as I mentioned before, this is where I kind of went wrong working from the 8 ball out now, is communicate on small issues, even in kindergarten. So you got that open communication going. So when it does get to the middle school, where the bullying really, really takes off, you're able to talk to them about it then. Now, here's the little caveat there. Train my daughter to be strong, boisterous, and not take any crap off anybody. When she hit those teen years and we weren't agreeing on stuff, she used that against me. So, which is like, whoa, wait a minute, honey. I told you to be strong and not let a man take advantage of you or be rude to you, but don't back talk dad. Don't, dad loves you. So guys know that may come as well. And how I overcame that one, instead of me going head to head with her, because we were so much alike, is to give the old, sweetie, I love you. And how can you be upset with somebody who loves you as much as I do? So please, let's talk about this, instead of me getting mad and raising my voice. And before you know it, it's a power struggle. And when you argue or yell with a child, who's the biggest child? All right. So be a better dad with that. But the biggest thing with them is that communication and talk. And I've got a wonderful wife, been with 26 years. She has really helped me. I don't say just soften up to have a better approach instead of just being the fighter approach, how to understand. And she really kind of helped bring the ABCs together in regards to how to attack this before it gets physical. And you know, I don't want to say I'm patting myself on the back, but I had to be humble enough to listen to my wife and listen to others in order to learn this. Because my whole thing was, somebody bullies you, you're going to defend yourself, you're going to know how to fight, you're never going to go through the stress and the pain and the physical abuse that I went through, and I'm going to make sure of it. And that's all fine and dandy. But like you said, the name calling, the exclusion, and what goes on in the mind, that's got to be attacked first and foremost. And the sooner you're able to do it, and it all starts with communication, the better it's going to help them and prepare them.
I think that's one of the biggest things. You can easily teach someone how to kick, punch, defend themselves, that kind of thing. It's the mental
Yep.
warfare.
Yeah, and the still thing I said, any fool can throw their arms and legs around and act like they're punching and kicking.
Right.
It's up here, and that's the biggest battle I've had my whole life. Is I call it defeating that bully within.
Yeah, and so when it comes to, I want to get back to, guiding our kids. I'd also really, I don't know if you've talked about this topic very often because maybe it's more the victim side, but what do we do if it's our kid that's being the bully? Then what? And you know what? I got to be honest, man. Knock on wood, my kids have never bullied anyone. Maybe it's because I've told them, I was like, God forbid I'm ever told that because all my kids have taken martial arts to some degree, and I'm like, use this as the last resort. Somebody puts it's funny you mentioned the putting your hands on you, right? Because that's what I was always taught too. I'm like, listen, always walk away from a fight if you can, talk your way out of it if you can. Someone goes to you feel threatened, someone puts their
Yep.
hands on you. Well, now it's a different story.
It's go time. Yep.
It's go time. However, God forbid I ever find out that you used what I've either taught you or somebody else has taught you to your advantage to dominate somebody in a victim situation, because then there will be absolute hell to pay.
Yep.
And luckily, like I said, knock on wood, we've never had an issue. But that's not to say for every bully that's out there, there's a parent that is dealing with that, right? So how do we, if we're talking to some of the parents out there and maybe it's been reported that, hey, your kid's doing this, your kid's doing that, your kid's in the principal's office, they did this or that. How do we handle that one?
When the biggest things with parents that have kids that turn into bullies is self-denial. It can't be my kid. There's no way it's my kid. It all goes back to the communication. Communication, you think about any relationship that ends or any conflict is usually poor communication or no communication at all. So the more you can communicate with your kids, but the best thing is, and we're all vulnerable, we all screw up, we all make mistakes, is that I talk about ego so much because ego gets in the way of us being the very best we can be. That's why I said edging God or greatness out. It's edging it out because I got it all figured out. You got nothing figured out. I wrote an article, this was years ago now, it was ego versus humility. And, there needs to be a balance. You got to be confident. So you don't want to be too humble and vulnerable, but you don't want to be too arrogant and egotistic and cocky that you can't be humble and learn. So it's a little bit of a balance. But with bullying is usually a learned behavior. They learned it from someone. And the majority of the time, unfortunately, and another thing, like I mentioned, I talk about it in the book, is it's real life stories that happened to me. So that's why it's so personal and so close. The bullies in the book were real bullies, and they were real bullies because their dads were real bullies. The way they talk, the way they walk, the way they carry themselves, the way they try to intimidate everybody else. I mean, everybody knew this kid's not going to be any different. Now, doesn't mean because you have a bullying dad, you can be different. Doesn't mean you don't have a bullying dad, you could be different. Obviously, we're all free to make our own choices, but it's a learned behavior. Generally, the kids that are bullies have been bullied either by a sibling or by a parent, or they've watched their parent. So maybe a dad, is nice in public, but in the background, he's a total jerk. Maybe he's the one screaming at the waiter because his soda's not filled up, or in traffic having a meltdown because of this and that, or just yelling at other people. I told this before on another podcast. And an example, the dad's driving the kid to school, little 6-year-old daughter's in the back seat. And for years, dad's road rage, always yelling, always screaming, this and that. Well, he's late running, getting her to school. He comes to a screeching halt as his car pulls out in front of him. And he goes to open his mouth. But before he could, the little 6-year-old in the back goes, "You stupid son of a gun. What the heck's your freaking problem? You nearly killed us." And the dad looks in the rearview mirror and sees his 6-year-old daughter screaming this out. And then he also sees his own reflection, knowing who did she learn that from?
Yep.
She learned it from
Exactly.
him.
Yep.
So it's those little things like that. If kids, they're going to emulate what we do. They're kids. Well, white belt in all martial arts is like fresh fallen snow, or it's a blank canvas to be painted on, and we paint on that canvas. Well, what we want, and sometimes it's not necessarily what we want, but what's painted, and that's what the kids absorb. So most bullying comes from that. But it's also, if someone says, "Hey, your kid's been bullying my kid," don't automatically, "Oh yeah, well your kid's a little jerk." Well, what have you done? You have now shown the kid that if somebody says something to you, you automatically retaliate with that. Talk to them. Now, maybe it's true, maybe it's not true, but learn and find out, and you'll be surprised. Don't, and I'm not saying don't go to bat for your kids, but just know that, maybe you weren't an angel either. Maybe your kids aren't. But if you have that open communication, you're going to find out and you're going to learn. But
Yeah, I think sometimes we probably view what we're saying and doing is maybe not bully like behavior, but that's not the way it's landing for them,
yep,
right? And they might be learning. The other thing too is like maybe they're learning these things from home, maybe they're not. Maybe they're learning these things from buddies that like maybe they're traveling in a circle of quote unquote friends, and if they're not, doing
yep,
if they're not joining in on the bullying, well, then you're not going to be accepted here either. It's kind of like, you got to be very, I always tell my kids, and as we wrap up here, I want to get your take on this too. I always tell my kids, if you are a part of a group that just did X, Y, or Z, whether you did it or not is irrelevant. You're guilty by association. It doesn't matter. So I had one of my boys that was hanging out with a crowd that probably wasn't the best. He's no longer hanging out with them, but they were doing no, I mean, they weren't doing like anything crazy bad, but they were doing stuff bad enough to where that they were going to get in trouble. And my son, wanted no part of it. And I was like, well, it doesn't matter if you want any part of it or not. If you are in company, law doesn't really care about that.
yep.
Neither does the cop, right? Neither does the family. If you were in a group that did something, right? So be very vigilant about who you decide to spend your time with and whatever kind of trouble they're trying to suck you into, right? It doesn't matter if you were the bystander or active. It's you're there. So luckily he doesn't hang out with them anymore. But it was a interesting lesson, and I'm sure our kids probably pick up on that. I want to make sure that the men can find, your book and everything that you're doing, the things that you're teaching, and all your resources. So, where's the best way to find that?
And thank you, Larry, once again
Yeah,
for the opportunity to be on the show. And men listening, thank you for being humble enough. And I say that with the utmost humility, because there was, at the time that, well, it was an ego thing. And the fact that we've dropped that in order to listen and try and learn, if not for you, well, for your kids and future generations. I'd like to say that right now I'm doing my very best to plant trees that I'll never sit under to enjoy the shade, but I know somebody will benefit from that. And I think that's Zig Ziglar. One of his famous quotes was, "How do you get everything you want in life? By helping enough other people get
yeah,
what they want." And I've become a Zig Ziglar speaker, trainer, coach, and I'm blessed to say you know regular friend with Tom Ziegler, simply because going through all the programs, which is Zig's son, and just continuing to learn and feed the mind the right things. The way to get a hold of me, we're actually doing a rebrand, Larry, and I'm not sure if I brought this up or not, but the Grogan's Bully Proof, that's the name of the company, but the rebrand is Warrior Confidence. So I'm converting my YouTube channel over, Instagram, the Facebook page is Building Warrior Confidence, and the whole mindset and idea behind that is it's the same message, But often, what I found here lately is a lot of times I'll be on podcasts or do a presentation or talk about my book, and it'll be, well, my kid's not being bullied right now, but, and it's almost like unless it's happening right now, then bully proof isn't something. It's not nothing that it's not that I don't want to dig into it, but it's not the problem we're having right now. The warrior confidence, what I'm going with that approach is, you know, it's better to be a warrior in the garden than a gardener in the war, is all about building that. So when you have it, you got it there. So building that confidence up. It doesn't matter if you're an athlete and maybe you're struggling as a hitter in baseball. Well, if your confidence is in the dumps, let's find a way to develop that warrior confidence to get back up, to know we're going to have setbacks so you don't give up. And I bring up the give up thing because suicide has become the second leading cause of death for ages 10 to 34. I mean, that's insane. I mean, it's always been the teen years, unfortunately, but now 10 to 34, it's spread on both sides of the fence because there's so much anxiety, so much depression, so much mental health issues because kids aren't learning to get back up once they've had a setback, once they've had a defeat. They think life is over. And guilty by association, you mentioned that earlier. That's another thing Zig would talk a lot about. The law doesn't care. You're going to get labeled if you're hanging around with a bad group of kids. You're bad. It's not right, but that's how it is. And Jim Rome used to say you're a percentage of the 4 to 5 people you spend the most time with. You spend your time with 4 or 5 people that are doing good things, automatically you're going to start doing things. You're going to start picking stuff up off the floor that, instead of being told to do so. You're going to see that the door needs held open for somebody. You're going to say please and thank you, make eye contact, and be respectful. Well, on the other side, you start hanging around with kids that are rude, mean, and disrespectful and doing things you shouldn't be. You're just going to automatically fall into that and start doing it. And if you don't, you're going to feel like the outcast. And, that's a way of kind of self-bullying. So you got to be selective on who you're with. And a lot of kids, unless they're taught to have that confidence and that leadership, they're just going to blend in with the crowd. So dads, that's the communication we're talking about. Talk to them, share with them. And I mean, you don't have to share all the things you've done wrong or all the mistakes you've made, but just share with them and be vulnerable so you can help prepare them moving forward on what to look for. And mistake I've made with my oldest son, Austin, I mean, kids just start hanging around with, kids. And I would say, gosh dang it, Austin, what have I taught you at the studio? Those kids are bums. They're no good. They're going to be in trouble. Why in the heck are you hanging around with them? Well, when you talk to a kid in that manner, all you're doing, well, one, now they're going to be, well, first, when they're little kids, you can get away with it. When they become teenagers are going to rebel against that. That's not communicating clearly and confidently. That's just, well, it's kind of almost bullying your kid. Do what I say because I said so. No, you got to talk to them. My wife was always has been good about helping me to talk to kids in another way. Say, hey, buddy, is that really the kids? I mean, are they doing the things that we talk about that you want to be? So you're talking to them, not talking down to them. Because I mean, I'm sure, Larry, you mentioned dad wasn't around much, but all the other male figures, we never liked it when the dad was talking down to us like we're a worthless piece of crap. No, you're going to rebel against that because you've got to fight back in some way, shape, or form. So that's just another little message out to the dads out there. And I know I've beat the C up. Communicate clearly and confidently. It's the longest chapter in the book because it talks about so much more than just talking to the bully. It's all about us being able to communicate clearly with our kids, with our spouses, with the teachers, with the coaches, on helping, kind of takes that village mindset to build a child. But anyway, I kind of rambled on. Warrior Confidence is the new brand we're going with, and that's well, one word: warrior confidence. And the whole motto is help empower kids, parents, teens, adults, and coaches with a hope, faith, and confidence to believe in themselves first and foremost, and believe in their unique God-given talents to overcome their fears, battle through the challenges, to stand up to every bully, every challenge they face, both real and in their mind, to be who they were born to be, not who society's trying to tell them to be.
Awesome, man. This was really helpful and definitely right up my alley. Something I'm super passionate about is not only bully prevention, but also helping fathers and families, help their kids prevent bullying. So love your message, my man. And gents, if you want to connect with Rich Grogan, like we were talking about today, if you want to pick up a copy of his book, we'll have all the links in the show notes. Just head on over to thedadedge.com/Friday 102. Again, thedadedge.com/Friday 102. Rich, thank you so much for coming on today. This was awesome, my man. And best of luck with this. And my hope is that you continue to empower families and kids.
Well, Larry, thank you so very much for what you're doing. And gosh darn, thanks for the opportunity. And listeners, I'm going to, well, that's why I say in my podcast, I'm going to say it for Larry here. If you liked it, please share it, and then please subscribe, and then give that 5-star review, because that's what helps drive us higher in the search engines. And more people are going to find the message, and the right people are going to find it. And of course, that's collectively how we're going to make a change and make things better for the next generation, for our kids, and to empower more dads. So I always like to say, if you don't like that dad's behavior here, maybe to ask him to listen to something. If he's humble enough, he's going to listen, he's going to learn, and it's going to be a win-win for everybody.
Awesome, my man. Thank you so much for coming on.
Absolutely. Thank you, Larry. God bless everybody.
God bless you, brother. Gentlemen, go out, live legendary. Take care.